The Waterworks of Clearwash City by Tim Waters. Excerpts from chapters 2 and 3. "Citizens of Clearwash City," rang out a shrill, screechy voice, "we are overjoyed at your jovial presence here tonight, and look forward to an evening of fun, frolicking, and high adventure." The greeting came from a set of aged and rusty loudspeakers attached to a blackened and burnt-out clock tower, which belonged to a grand marbled palace. Its whitewashed walls and high stately rooms towered into the early evening sky, imposing a majestic and noble presence. In front of the palace was a large cobbled market square, into which a vast and euphoric crowd had assembled. Surrounding them were the many walls, streets and lofty buildings that together made up the jigsaw of what was once a great city. A vast and dirty capital, its crumbling houses, tired assembly halls and closed factories told the story of a prosperous time long gone. "Are we all ready?" cried the megaphone voice, and the crowd responded with a cheer. "And to any stragglers out there who've not yet arrived, here's a special reminder why you should come to the highlight of our summer festivities." The voice droned on and on, talking about the immensity and grandeur of the event. Its sound echoed and bounced through the maze of weary streets, drowsy lanes and derelict avenues that ran throughout the city. The enthusiastic invitation to the forthcoming party felt quite hollow, even out of place, amid the multitude of worn-out buildings and empty homes. The voice from the loudspeakers continued, "The authorities of Clearwash City proudly present for your delight and blissful entertainment the next pitiful, pathetic and wretched victim who, through his own deplorable stupidity, will now give us all great pleasure by having to endure the techno-magical, techno-tragical, free-flowing, foamy flusher machine. We welcome you to feast your eyes upon this most marvellous event and to inhale the joy of our soapsud extravaganza." A roar of applause rang out from the people, whilst the green uniformed brass band began to play a happy, sprightly tune. "And now," continued the voice, "I give you your host for this evening, the one and only Mr. Repsonville of Clearwash City. I give you Mr. E." Swaggering up to a nearby standing microphone, Mr. E just stood there, arms stretched out and hat and cane held aloft, receiving everyone's rapturous applause. Like a national celebrity, he remained motionless, a statue, simply nodding his head with a wry smile and lapping up every succulent moment. My, he called into the microphone. "Is this not a devious, deceitful, dastardly and defiant crowd of revellers I see before me? How delicious!" Great laughter, whistles and whoops came from the throng, who were pushing and shoving themselves forward to get a better look at Mr. E, only held back by a small fence and a row of nervous, armed guards who stood poised, tense and ready for action. "My most noble and loyal subjects," called Mr. E again, "it's flashing time." The crowd went wild with excitement. "Let us now savour the moment," he continued, "as we deal with a sham of a man who has proved himself a liar, cheat, swindler, fraudster, rogue and charlatan, a twisted and warped individual. He has loved nothing but the wages of self-pleasure, decadent amusement and egotistical gratification. He is a man full of his own imaginary magnitude, and who now, as you shall shortly see, amounts to nothing more than a pathetic, blundering wimp. So, let us indulge our appetites by beholding our lawbreaker, who stands accused and condemned. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the once so wise and so noble Sir Frederick James III. The ground in front of the stage slowly opened up to reveal a deep and gaping dark pit. From somewhere inside that yawning hole, the metallic noises of clunk, clank, clatter, 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 and clink, clunk, clank, clunk resonated across the market square. Cogs turned, chains rattled, and out of the ground emerged a large, rusty, cast-iron machine. The bizarre metallic contraption that came into sight looked like an enormous, corroded silver box with a polished, domed lid. Rising out of its top and sides were various pistons, pipes, and rubber tubes, sprouting in all directions, a little like the hairdo of a mad professor, each of which juddered and shuddered as pressurized steam whizzed its way through them, sending high-pitched shrieks into the air. Across its front were several large levers, pedals, and switches. These were surrounded by numerous buttons, continually flashing on and off in a bright display of twirling colours. In the centre of the machine was a large glass pane, and through this window lots of frothy, bubbly water could be seen churning over and over, a little like the insides of a giant industrial washing machine. At one side of the machine stood a small, transparent cubicle. The little glass room shone brightly, illuminating everything around it. Sticking out of the glass room's top was another large pipe, which bent over on itself and attached back onto the rusty machine's lid. Inside the room stood a sad, lonely figure, his head bowed low and his hands hanging limp at his sides. Taking several quick intakes of breath to give himself some composure and strength, for nerves clung to every part of his trembling body, making even standing difficult, he slowly lifted up his head to look out at the heckling crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mr. E said, "what is this we see before us? Have we ever seen in our midst such a pathetic and pitiful picture of despondent lonesomeness? And all this from a man who has portrayed himself as a proud pillar of promised freedom. Clearly you can see that today he is nothing of the sort. Just a short-lived fallacy and a cloudy, hollow delusion to the minds of the weak-willed and feeble. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to crown this delicious and most juicy moment that we find ourselves sharing today, and to rename this ruffian and rebellious turncoat. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Sir Frederick the Faint-Hearted." "Frederick the Faint-Hearted," the crowd jeered back. You won't get away with this," stammered the man from inside the glass room, his lips trembling with fright. I'm telling you, this is not the end, you know. You can't stop all of us. We'll get you in the end." Pulling a sheet of paper from inside his waistcoat pocket, along with a judge's wig, Mr. E relaxed into a large oak chair, provided by Ivan the organ player and a couple of the guards. After ceremoniously setting the wig upon his head, he held the paper aloft and read, "My most noble and loyal subjects, who are gathered here today, let me recount for you just some of the long list of offences here committed by this crook. Sir Frederick James, you have 1. Broken law 1447 section B, collecting rainwater without a permit. 2. Broken law 19622, conspiring to sell through an underground official trade route to the weak-willed, disobedient inhabitants of this city. 3. Broken law 44792, by seeking to guide others into washing without proper authority. 4. Broken law 352 version 14C, by creating a kind of soap made from cow's milk and pondweed, which could be used for washing. Broken law 6792, by not having upon him the required lotion smells provided by the state. 6. Above all things, you have finally sealed your fate by breaking law 1579-E in conjunction with law 62274, as you have used the banned substance called toothpaste and applied it to your teeth using a common clothes brush. Not only have you used this brush and paste in this way, but you have also persistently tried to clean your teeth on days of the week which are strictly non-brushing days. For these and other serious crimes which are too many to be listed here, you are today to endure the free-flowing, foamy flusher machine, as everyone can now see. The crowd reacted with great hollers and howls of laughter or jeers of displeasure as each crime was read out. Then flush, 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 they all began to chant. With these words, Mr. E twirled a dial on the machine's front, pulled down 2 levers, and at once it began to tremble and shake. The delighted, pleasurable uproar of the people rose high into the sky as the lights across the machine's front beamed brightly. With a grinding, a hissing, and a deep mechanical cough, 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 its inner workings jolted together and finally formed a rhythmic tune. An alarm sounded, whoop, 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 it shrieked as water bubbled up from beneath Sir Frederick's feet, and the room gradually started to fill with water. Then, from a speaker built into the side of the flushing machine, a deep electronic voice spoke. "Flushing traveller, prepare for new destination. Direction downwards. Lowest level announced," said the machine. "Have a nice trip." "Whoopee!" shouted the crowd as one voice together, and then laughed. "We'll get you for this," he shouted. I tell you, Mr. E, you'll be standing where I am one day. May the heavens above bless the day when we have our just reward, and everything you've done to us is paid back double into your own lap." "Oh, how delicious," responded Mr. E. "I love it when they go down fighting. Doesn't it make our little advent so much more gratifying?" he said, looking out at the crowd, who replied with more taunts and laughter. "We'll get you for this," shouted Sir Frederick again, banging his fist on the sides of the classroom. But the clanking of the cogs and the grinding, clunking mechanical melody of the machine had already begun. The small glass room slowly began to turn round and round and round and round. Clunk went another cog, clunk, clank, and then clunk again, taking the room into a spin. Faster and faster it went, speeding up with every turn. From the glass room ceiling, the large pipe poured down bubbling soapsuds, and from holes in the floor, the water now gushed and spouted upwards, causing Sir Frederick to lose his footing. "Let me out!" he shouted, but no one responded to his cry. Mr. E held his cane aloft like a conductor's baton and began to conduct the crowd, who together all chanted, "Round and round and round we go. Faster and faster the water does flow. It froths and gushes with pure delight. It swishes and sloshes till flushing is right." Mr. E then skipped over to the end of the glass room and, taking hold of a large chain that dangled from the top pipe, swung on it with all his weight. There was a heavy clunk and a great gurgling noise, which echoed through the air as if a giant plug had been pulled from a vat. This was followed by a swirling, and then a descending water gurgled, and the glass cubicle emptied itself, flushing everything inside it away. The glass room just sat there, very clean and very empty. "And off Sir Frederick goes!" cried Mr. E. The crowd broke out into rapturous applause as Mr. E removed his judge's wig and threw it into the throng. "Well, that was a good one," he added. "Loads of bubbles that time, don't you think?" Everyone laughed. "Now that's what I call entertainment," cried Mr. E, who then took a bow as if his job was completed. The crowd responded with cheers, whilst Mr. E sauntered and half-danced back up the steps of the wooden stage, dragging the microphone behind him. Then appeared a sudden change over his demeanour, and his maddened eyes went dark with rage. This is Tim Waters, and I do hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that this encourages you to get the book and read it for yourself. The Waterworks of Clearwash City by Tim Waters.